The annual GovTech Conference starts today. This is the first time in 14 years since its inception that business and industry experts from other African countries will attend the event. Government and ICT experts will meet to collaborate, share experiences, challenges and solutions that can showcase the power of technology to improve service delivery and enhance economic growth. Now, agenda presenter Naledi Moleo is on standby to speak to us from there. So Naledi, we'll speak about why you left me behind in Johannesburg, but first talk to us about what's happening there where you are. We understand that this is a gathering that puts some of Africa's greatest innovators under one roof. Tell us more.
Well, let's settle the score about why I left you in studio a little bit later when I get back to Joburg. But let me enjoy my time right now in Durban. Good morning once again to our viewers. So I'm coming to you live now from the Durban Exhibition Center, where we're bringing you the GovTech Conference. And essentially, you're correct in the purpose of this conference is really to start looking at how government services can be delivered better using the power of ICT. And that's essentially what we're seeing today. We're seeing big business, the likes of Huawei, Microsoft, Centec exhibiting, as well as some smaller enterprises as well that really are talking innovation in being able to deliver services, but not just to the South African citizens, but also to the African continent as well. You may note that over the past few years, we really have seen the South African government work very, very hard to start digitizing and digitalizing the systems and services that it offers to South Africans. You remember quite recently, even the Department of Transport indicating that it really wants to start moving towards paperless systems. So a very big program today. We did speak to the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies a little bit earlier, Minister Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, who talked about the importance of these collaborative efforts between business and government, not just in the country, but in South Africa as well, to start bringing government services into the fourth industrial revolution. And we also spoke to the chairperson of the State Information Technology Agency, SETA, that essentially is hosting this event. And they have also created a platform called DigiTech that aims to empower small to medium enterprises that are contributing to that knowledge economy of innovation on the continent. But let's speak to one of the exhibitors, and I'm very excited to have this discussion, joined now by Mr. Luvo Gwiliza, who is the executive chair of what he calls the Afrocentric IP. Good morning to you, and thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, thank you. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
It's an interesting concept, this idea of Afrocentric intellectual property. What are you guys doing exactly?
Look, Afrocentric IP, from inception, the name is quite self-explanatory in the sense that we're about generating IP, which is Afrocentric in nature. The copy and paste from the so-called first world countries we can learn from them. However, we need to start generating our own IP. As IP, we in the space of governance, risk and compliance, with a specific focus in business continuity. Because essentially what needs to happen when you enable government is government needs to be quite responsive to the citizens. So we compute, we protect and restore data. If you look at the 21st century, essentially, data is the new currency. So we need to protect data with all that we have.
What is the importance of having data that is specifically Afrocentric, right? And maybe you can explain to me what we have been doing then from a data and intellectual property point of view on the African continent in terms of protecting our data. Is this a security issue as well?
Yes, absolutely. We focus in governance. Its risk is our strength, which is information security / cyber security and business continuity. So you can't really separate the two. Data access is key. Who access to data, how and when. And it's actually in recent times, in the times we live in, it does threaten a country's sovereignty. Yeah? So you need to protect data with all that you have. So from a service offering as Afrocentric, we ensure that you never have your lights out. You ensure that you don't lose a byte, and you continue to have systems running in order to be better responsive to the citizens as the public sector. Yeah.
What do you make of a conference like this one, where you've got government, you've got big businesses, you've got small businesses, you've got leaders from across the continent as well coming together to discuss tech and government services and where those two things meet? I mean, your optimism and where we still have gaping holes and a lot of work to do in terms of government services and getting them into the fourth industrial revolution.
I think collaboration is key across all sectors of society, civil, be it business and the public sector. We need to seek for the solutions to address our challenges in the 21st century, not only in the continent, but across all emerging markets, globally. I think we've got what it takes as the country, and we just need to stress more that we need, as business, from where I'm sitting, I'm not saying that you should do away with reselling, but we really should encourage innovation and generation of intellectual property, which is Afrocentric in nature. Yeah.
I did ask you earlier if you're a small to medium enterprise, and you said no, we've surpassed that part, which is encouraging that there is growth for South African businesses in the world of ICT. But what is it that you want to hear from the other big business players, right? You've got the really big machinery, the multinational companies here, but you've also got government. From those big role players, what is it that you really want to be hearing throughout this GovTech conference?
Invest in skills development. So without a factory, to generate, to ensure that we are able to create IP, they need to invest locally, primarily in skills development, and we expect a bit of loyalty from big business here, in order for our government to work in our country at large.
Luvo, thank you so much for speaking to us, Mr. Gwiliza. We really, really do appreciate it. That there, Mr. Luvo Gwiliza, the executive chair of Afrocentric IP, who was exhibiting right here at the GovTech Conference, at the Durban exhibition centers, and many other innovative organizations here as well, showing off their work. We're expecting about 2,500 delegates to be part of this event. It's a really big one indeed. And in the 14 years that this event has been around, the first time that you've got African counterparts as well from other parts of the continent. We'll be hearing from the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies throughout the day as well, but lots of collaborative efforts, and we'll bring those to you throughout the next 2 days. And Mxolisi, back to you.
So Naledi, just before we let you go, talk to us about some of the exhibitors' stands that you've seen there. What stands out for you? Because we spoke about how this particular conference is expected to speed up service delivery, seeing that it's GovTech, in a way in which service delivery, because it's quite a critical element of everything that happens in today's life. So talk to us about some of the stands that you've seen and which ones actually stand out for you.
So I think what really stands out for me is the fact that you've got the bulk of the room, actually, the exhibition room, really taken up by some of the, what one would call the smallest sort of organizations. And then what you're seeing is, if you go around, it's a mix of different things. You've got organizations that, for instance, are creating innovative ideas to deal with copper theft in the country. You've got young people that are in and of themselves really wanting to compete with some of the big business that you have in the room. I did mention that you've got the likes of Microsoft, Huawei, Centec in the room as well, and those ones having very obviously big businesses and big connections with some of the entities in the country. But you're able to see also some of the interesting innovations, like the likes of, we've heard of the word metaverse, and what you've got is a dome that has been set up in there, and one wonders if that dome itself is going to be, giving us the opportunity to put on the goggles and get into the digital metaverse, where we know that innovations have become so interesting that people are even buying property in things like the metaverse. So a lot to look at. You've got organizations like Kenya Africa Networks that essentially are wanting to connect networks across the continent and create digital access even to rural communities. I'm going to bring you as many of these as I can throughout the day, because there's something electric about seeing small to medium enterprises, African small to medium enterprises, really operating within the fourth industrial revolution and, really sharing some of their work as well.